Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be making baby food and I thought I'd share how I make my baby food for my baby who is 7 months old. He's almost 8 months, so he's been eating baby food now for a couple months. I like to make my own baby food because I find that it's much healthier and I can kind of minimize the ingredients that go into the baby food. I like to do it in bulk and I like to freeze it into like ice cube trays. And I use the silicone ones like these. And these I just got on Amazon. They're like a honeycomb and they're silicone, so it makes it easy to get them out of here. I also find that it's not too time consuming. I just warm up the cubes in some warm water and let it sit and defrost for probably about 15-20 minutes before I'm going to feed him. And yeah, so it's not too bad actually to make your own baby food. I also use frozen vegetables and fruits as well as fresh, and a little bit of dry foods as well. Some of these that I make today are going to be new, and a couple that he hasn't tried yet before, and then some that he's already familiar with. But usually a good rule of thumb is that you try a new baby food with your baby. Let them try it out for about 3 days and before you introduce any other new foods to them, and just to see if there are any allergic reactions that they may have. Once he's tried the baby food already and I know that he's not allergic, I like to mix them together. So I'll mix like bananas with blueberries and so on. So, and sometimes I just make it together. So it's actually already made and blended and processed together. So I'm going to show you what you need to make the baby food and show you how I do it. Hope you enjoy this video as I take you along with me while I make baby food. Say bye. So let's get started. Okay, so first I went ahead and made a list of the foods that I wanted to make. For the veggies, I'm going to be making some avocados. I have some green avocados, but I think they're a little bit too green, so I won't be able to make too much of that, but I will be making one avocado. I like to make avocados because they're good and high in fats, which is great for brain development and things like that. I will also be making green beans as well as peas. Sweet potatoes, I went ahead and washed those already. The green beans and peas will be frozen. Another vegetable that my son enjoys eating, but I don't have any, is butternut squash. And he really enjoys eating that. I buy that frozen. I don't have any right now, but I will try to also leave a list down below. For the fruit, I will be making cherries, which are frozen. I have some fresh spinach that I will be using, so I will need to steam that as well. I have some fresh bananas, blueberries, strawberries, which are both frozen as well, and some prunes that are dried. I have those sitting on my counter, and mangoes. I will also be making some chicken for him. I already have this from our dinner from last night, and it's just shredded chicken. And so I will be taking some of this. It's just boiled chicken, and it's not seasoned or flavored with anything. So it's just plain. You want to try to keep the ingredients minimal as far as seasoning goes. You don't want them to become accustomed to too much flavoring right off the bat. And you know, also they may be allergic to something like some type of seasoning or whatnot. So anyways, so yeah, I just want to kind of keep it plain. So I'm just gonna go ahead and blend this up. If you are starting out, I would suggest you use formula or breast milk to kind of get them adjusted to the taste, and also, you know, it can also benefit for health reasons. I'm just gonna go ahead and use some bottled water, and yeah, so that works just as great. I have an avocado here that I will be using. I have a few more that are still ripening and they're pretty green, so I won't be able to use those. I also like to do prunes if he doesn't care too much for prune juice. But so I just use dried prunes, and I like to mix this with water, and I like to add 1 or 2 cubes of prunes with some of his foods when he eats his food, just so that way it kind of helps him stay regular, because in the beginning when I started feeding him, table foods, he was getting quite constipated. So I found that this really helped him. And sweet potatoes are also good for constipation as well as some other of these vegetables and fruits. Like I said, I like to have a variety. I keep fresh vegetables and fruit on hand, but I also use frozen. And the prunes are pretty much the only fruit that I do use dry. So you are going to need some ice cube trays. I got these on Amazon. They're silicone. Silicone work great. You can find these in all kinds of sizes and shapes even, but I just find that these work great. You can also store it fresh in your fridge, although it won't last as long. So I like to freeze it. So you want to have a good blender, and you can use a food processor like this, although this does make like bigger batches. So I find that just using the Ninja cups work great as well to make smaller quantities of food. Hey, did you water? So I went ahead and chopped a couple sweet potatoes, and I also am throwing those into some boiling water. I'm also adding some spinach into boiling water. You just want to like blanch it and slightly cook it so that way it doesn't lose all of the nutrients, but I went ahead and did that, and now I am just removing the avocado from the outer shell, and I will blend it. My son happens to love avocado. It's one of his favorites, so I'm mixing water with that right now, and I will blend that into a soft consistency. Avocado left over, and this was the spinach that I boiled, so I'm gonna go ahead and mix them together since he's already tried both of these. I'm gonna blend these up together right now. Not waste my time. So baby, we should start living now. Next, I'm going to go ahead and make some cherries for his baby food. This is a new one for him. He hasn't tried, and so I noticed when I was making the cherries, because they are frozen, you want to add a little bit of water, not too much water, because the water content comes out of the cherries and it'll make it really runny. So just a little bit of water is fine. As I mentioned earlier, my son has already tried both bananas and blueberries, so I know there's no allergies there. So I'm just blending those together instead of making them separately. But if you make them separately, you can always mix them together and warm them up together, so that way they can have a variety of foods mixed together. I also wanted to mention that I love my Ninja food processor. I've had it for many years now, I think going on maybe 4 years. But I actually had to mute the audio on this, not only because it's a blender, but it's super loud, and I was actually wearing earplugs. I normally keep it in my room, and when I need to blend something, I just kind of shut the door. But it's like super loud, and I don't know if we need a new blade for it, or if it's just old and we need to get a new one. But either way, it still blends pretty good. And right here, I am just making some peas. I think this was another new one for my son. This was very simple to make. I just used frozen peas and added just a tiny bit of water. You can also use formula or breast milk, but there was a bit of leftover water in the peas from boiling them, so I didn't add too much water. I just added a little bit of water in that. So I was happy I found some butternut squash in my other freezer in my garage. I thought I had forgotten to buy some at the store, so I'm just using like a slotted spoon to not add too much water. I slightly boiled them, not too much, just to soften it a bit since they are diced up into really small pieces. So that was really simple to make, and the sweet potatoes are now finished boiling. I left the skins on, but you could definitely peel them off. I'm going to make sure to blend them up very, very well. And I think it'll just leave a little bit of extra like fiber on the sweet potatoes, but like I said, you could definitely peel them if you wanted to. So I am adding the sweet potato into the like ice cube trays as it's sort of hot. At least at first I was, but I am allowing them to cool on the counter for a little bit before I'm adding them into the freezer. And I think this helps with like any type of bacteria forming or anything like that. Okay, so here's the list. I was able to make all of the veggies and fruit. I was able to finish the mangoes, and I also made the butternut squash. I had a couple of packages of butternut squash in my other freezer. When we have chicken for dinner, I'll make some extra, but other than that, I was able to make him quite a bit of each. He eats about 3 times a day right now, so this should last us a couple weeks, at least 2 to 3 weeks. So yeah, anyways, I'm really happy I was able to make him quite a bit of food. And now here is probably one of my most fun and satisfying part of it all, other than feeding my baby, of course, is taking the frozen food out of the ice cube trays and sorting them and organizing them into a container for my baby. This might seem a little tedious, sorting the fruits and vegetables out, but it really didn't take too long, and I felt like it actually helped when it came time to warm up my baby's food. It was much easier to know what foods I was giving him, and to kind of mix and match his foods together, and make combinations that I thought would be good for him to eat and that he might like. So taking this extra step it actually seemed to save me some time overall. I was going to mention also, you might want to consider labeling your container or plastic baggie, whatever you use to store this in. I'm normally the one that feeds him, so I know, more or less, I remember what fruits or veggies they are, but you might consider labeling it, especially if somebody else will be feeding your baby. Oh, Mommy just made a picture. Stir your food. Okay, nice to eat. As you can see here, my little pumpkin really enjoyed his food and I couldn't feed it to him fast enough. But anyway, I hope you got something out of this, and if you did, hit the like button, leave me a comment, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.